Hi guys, welcome to our second episode, hopefully if I did things right, of Not So Trad Wife. Today we have what Christian? Do you want to go by Christian? Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
Christian's fine. Yeah.
Awesome. We have Christian here to talk about homemaking and entertaining, and I am so excited. So I'm gonna let him introduce himself if you would like to go ahead.
Sure. So hi everybody. My name is Christian. My pronouns are he, them, and I have, I guess, I'm considered non-traditional because I consider myself a stay-at-home husband. That is the role that I have sort of come into in my marriage. And I was raised by a grandmother who was the second oldest of nine siblings. Good Catholic family. Second oldest of nine siblings, and she very much believed in making sure all her grandchildren knew how to cook, knew how to clean, and how to be proper hosts for people. Um, and so homemaking is something very near and dear to my heart because it's a way for me to also honor her memory. And my mom, also passed down those skills because my mom also got those skills from my grandmother as well. So it's kind of how I stay connected to my heritage and to people around me.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you having being on here today.
Thank you.
Um, I'm really hoping that this recording picks up that I have this on my headphones. I don't know how any of this works.
That's
But
okay.
anyway, I'm just going to jump right into it. The first question we have today is what is fulfilling to you about being a homemaker? What fills you with pride? You talked a little bit about it just now, but do you want to kind of
Yeah.
dig a little
So,
deeper?
oh boy. Yeah. So, I was raised in a non-traditional household from the age of 10 until I moved out at 23. My parents split up when I was 11, when I was 10. The divorce was when I was 11, but my parents split up when I was 10. And up until that point, I had only ever really seen my mom do a lot of the cooking and the cleaning, but my dad had his own chores. He did, he was responsible for dishwasher stuff and laundry. And then, of course, he did the yard work, but that was kind of like how they had things split up. But then we moved in with my grandmother into a tiny 3-bedroom duplex from a 3-bedroom home. And my grandmother suddenly had 3 preteens, my mom, and a dog. So homemaking, I learned very quickly that things are different, things are fluid, and that the traditional heteronormative idea of families, while still valid for some people, like if that's what you want, fantastic, but it doesn't have to be the mold that everybody fits into. And as I got older, I was born female. I'm female to male transgender. As I got older, I started learning a little bit more about my love language, which is acts of service. And for me, that's what's fulfilling about being a homemaker is that it is my act of service to anybody who comes into my home, whether it's my spouse and my roommate getting home from work and me having dinner ready for them, or just being able to do the dishes and clean the kitchen and stuff like that. Uh, one year I cooked Thanksgiving dinner on my own, and that was terrifying. Oh, yeah, I see your face. No, it was terrifying. I had to call my mom and like panic cry through part of it, but I did it. And that was what was really fulfilling for me, was just being able. And then but then afterwards dinner, everyone was like, oh man, this tastes great. They had no idea that I had been panicking the morning of or the night before. So
It's
that
always like that, right?
right.
Where everyone's like,
Yeah,
oh, this is amazing. You're like, really? Because I had like 8 panic attacks over that one little thing.
right, exactly. And what really fills me with pride is when I have people who say your home is really inviting. Right now it's a bit of a mess. We moved in the beginning of March, or at the end of March, kind of not necessarily in an emergency, but a little more quickly than we had hoped. We'd hoped to kind of maybe span it out over a couple of months. No, we had to do it in 2 weeks. So we are just now beginning to get things unpacked. We're just beginning to get things, but the kitchen was one of the first things that I wanted set up. So
You were like,
what
I'm on top of it.
right, I was like, kitchen's got to be done, bathroom, we can figure everything else out later.
Yeah,
And so
honestly, yeah.
yeah, like behind me, I mean, I'm getting ready for a camping trip, but like over on the corner, I've got a stack of boxes full of books that haven't been unpacked yet.
Oof. Those are
Right.
heavy too.
Oh yeah. But what really made me happy was I had one of I'm in a lot of subcultures, a lot of different hobbies. I've been doing Renaissance fairs and things like that since I was 10, give or take. So just after my parents split up, I found that community, and it was really great. Um, and so I had a Ren Fair friend who was coming from Texas to go to the Colorado Fair out in Larkspur, and I'm like, well, we're on the way. My house isn't like the cleanest, but you're welcome to stay here if you'd like. So they got here. I set them up with an air mattress in my office, and I showed them where the food was, and I told them if they needed anything, just to let me know. I was in the other room, and they left early. Well, I was still asleep because they had a long drive, but they texted me later and they said, I really wanted to thank you for opening your home to me, because it was nice just to be somewhere where I wasn't like camping on the side of the road or having to get a hotel room or anything. And I felt really welcome. And I was just like, yes,
I
that,
love that.
yeah, it just made me feel really proud of myself, because with being ADHD and newly diagnosed autistic, I have you have those paranoias and those fears where you're like, this doesn't look right. It looks horrible. Oh my God, what are people going to think about
Something's
me?
off. I don't know what, but I
Right.
know it's wrong. No one's gonna like it.
Exactly. And then just to have them be like, no, this was nice. Thank you. And I'm like, okay. All right. So yeah, that is what fills me with pride and what is fulfilling to me about it.
Awesome. I'm kind of going to go off script here because a lot of the questions are kind of similar. So I'm going to
Yeah.
build off of them.
Sure.
We'll mess it around. Like it'll work.
It'll
We'll
make
make sense of
sense.
it later. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So I want to know, what does your partner do to support you as a homemaker?
So shout out to my spouse. She's wonderful. She's amazing. They're non-binary. I get away with using she for them, but most of the time I use them. But so they're also I'm also in a BDSM dynamic with them where I am their collared submissive, and part of my job of serving them is being a homemaker, as it is. They're
We love
very
to see it.
right. They're very supportive. We had to we they were raised by a Southern grandma, though, and went to cotillion school, so they have,
Oh,
right, kind of different. We both kind of had different views, and I don't always like to make these generalizations, but I'm a sociology major. I study society and culture, and it's interesting because my grandmother came from a society. She was born and raised in the Great Depression. She was one of 9 kids, you know and then my mom was a single kid raised through the civil rights and the 70s, and she was a teacher for the first, her professional life. She was a teacher for the first year in the barrio in Austin, Texas, which, ooh,
wow.
oh yeah. But anyways, but then she was raised by her grandmother, who comes from old Southern family. Like, I'm talking Georgia. We were just looking at their ancestry stuff yesterday because we were curious about it. And yeah, her family have been in Georgia since the 1600s,
Holy
like
shit.
before what. Yeah, so they've been around a long time, and so she went to cotillion because she was expected to marry a nice Southern boy. And so we have different views on what homemaking is. So
Yeah.
we kind of had to, like, we've been together, let's see, we've been together 8 years. We'll have been married for 7 in December. And she moved in with me when I was living with well, I was in a shared living situation. So we didn't really get a chance to kind of like explore any of that until we moved to where we live now. And we both had very different views on some things. Like, it irritates the heck out of her that I make, so sweet tea, it's a thing, right?
Yeah,
Texas.
absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, Texas has its own version of sweet tea, but so does the South. And
Yes.
that is one thing that we will not agree on, is like, nah, that's not sweet enough. And I'm like, are you kidding? I dumped like 4 pounds of sugar in this thing, And then we kind of have different views when it comes to things like, well, the toilet paper roll needs to go facing up, not the other way. And I'm like, I just put it on the way that I just put it on. And she's
It's
like,
on.
no, right, it's there, right? And she's like, no, it goes the other way. And I was like, okay, okay. And then like when we were doing our wedding invitations,
Oh God, that was so horrible. I never want to do that again.
it was I looking back on it, it was a great moment. But at the time, I was like, I cannot stand you right now. Because she was like, we have to have everyone's names. We have to have this. They have to say either Mr., Miss, or Mix, because we were, being inclusive, of course. And I was like, but this is going to take forever. Can't we just get a stamp? And like, and she's like, no, they have to be hand lettered. And I'm like, why? So,
Why exactly? I
so
ended up
that's,
handwriting mine and it was not.
yeah,
I wish
I,
I'd just done the program thing because I was
right. As someone who has, I'm part of I'm semi-professional wedding officiant, so I've been seeing different ideas and stuff, and I kind of sit there and go, why didn't we do that? Like this would have
right.
made things so much easier.
Working in the wedding business, you see so many things that you're like, oh. And then
That
also, like, for me, I was like, oh, everything that they told me was true. Like, there's absolutely no reason to have worried about this one little thing because I used it for 2 seconds and now it's useless forever.
it's sitting in my bed. It's sitting in my room in my house,
And I'm like,
going,
oh, I'll scrapbook it one day.
we were smart and just did a memory chest and had everything put in box.
Smart.
Yeah,
I should have done that.
but she's very support. They're very supportive. And when I first was starting testosterone, especially, I had a lot of conflicting emotions about being, oh, you're the man, you're supposed to do this. And, my father in law, I love him to death, but he was in his way of trying to help, he was unfortunately subconsciously reinforcing negative stereotypes where Storm was the one that had to stay at home and I was the one that had to go out and work and all of that, or
Yeah.
not
So he
stay at
was,
home. Like he didn't say no, she can't work, but he was more like, you need to make sure that she's taken care of. And I was like,
yeah.
oh my God. And finally now he's a lot older, he's mellowed out, and he's begun to understand that I'm not a typical guy. I never will be. And so when I was first starting testosterone, having that reinforcement from him was weird. And we would get into arguments about like, well, I need to do this. And she'd be like, no, you don't. I'd be like, but I do. And she'd be like, well, you need to do that. And I'm like, what? And
I need to do
so
what?
exactly. So the way that we've been supportive is that we talk a lot. And like, okay, I'll use an example today. I should have been a little more clear. I mentioned that I kind of needed help with the dishes, and then they were like, it didn't click. So I was like, oh, whatever. So I went back to my room, and then I messaged them and went, that meant I needed help with the dishes. And they were like, well, then say it next time and don't be such a snide little jerk. And I was like, okay, you know, so
Yeah, okay.
yeah, we're just like, yeah, okay. So but we talk, and that's how we're supportive. And she's proud of the fact that I'm a house husband. When she was working at a call center at one time, I would make her lunch because it was just something I like to do. And it meant leftovers for me later on in the day. So that worked out too. Um, I made her sushi, hand rolled sushi that she took to work. And her coworkers were like, who made that? And she's like, my husband. And they're like,
Me with my husband. I love that.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're
Everyone's
like,
like, do you eat good? And I'm like, you mean customized breakfast in bed? Whatever I want? Like,
yeah, just a bit.
yeah, I'll be like, we'll be watching like a food show and I'll be like, oh, I want that. And he'll be like,
Right, right. And you're like,
oh,
how did you do that? Yeah,
magic.
right. I'm the cook more. I mean, she knows how to cook. She's really good at the grill. She's really excellent at crock pot meals and baking. That's
I'm
her
good at
thing.
baking and that's it. I can't do
Yeah.
anything else. Like I'll burn toast.
Yeah, I've been there. But like I'm the cook. So yeah. But I couldn't have asked for a more supportive partner in that regard.
I love that. What
Yeah,
do you
me
think
too.
has like kept you in this role?
Well, part of it is I am struggling with some health issues. I'm a type 2 diabetic. I have early onset osteoarthritis. The testosterone didn't help that,
Yeah, it'll
you
do
know,
that. It
right?
will do
Right.
that.
Uh, um, and excuse me, I'm in school. I'm going. I went back for my second. I'm going back for my second bachelor's degree.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you, thank you. I'm taking this semester off because
Me the fuck too.
last semester with moving screwed my finals over. I haven't even seen what my final grades are like, and I'm like, I can wait.
We
But
don't
anyway,
perceive them.
right? Don't perceive them. Yes, I
Yeah,
like that. But
yeah.
so, and I don't know if it's just my luck or if it's just that, but I haven't really been able to hold on to a job for longer than a year. Right? I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's, and the longest job I've had was when I was working as a seasonal worker in Yellowstone for 2 summers. But that was different. At the same time, though, they could have fired me and I would have had to go home. So,
Very true.
but
That
I
is
I
very
held
true.
I held on to those. So what's kept me in the those are the extenuating circumstances. Now, it's not like I couldn't get a job if I didn't want to, but also if I get a job, we lose insurance, which means my more hormones and my other medications we'd have to pay for out of pocket. And
Nah.
one time I looked at how much some of my medications are, and it was like close to $400. I was like, I can't afford that.
Yeah, literally when oh my God, I just got back from seeing my partner in Texas and I
Mm-hmm.
ran out of prep while I was there. And
Mm-hmm.
so I called my doctor and I was like, "Hi, can you refill the prep to this location?" They were like, "Yeah, but your insurance won't cover it in Texas." And I'm like, "Of course they don't cover fucking prep
Right.
in Texas." But
Uh,
like I'm like, "Okay,
Texas.
so can you look up how much it is?" And they're like $1,700. And I'm like,
I can wait.
"Bro, bro, yeah, no, we'll go back to Utah. Absolutely. I will. Yeah, no."
I will wait. It's fine. Everything's fine. Yeah.
I know it's been so long now that I think I'm gonna have like the shitty uptake again because that thing is
Uh,
not fun to start.
I bet. Yeah. But so if in New Mexico, if you work more than 20 hours, you lose your benefits. And we just got food stamps back after not having them for close to a year and a half. And so those are the logical, shall we say, extenuating circumstances. It's like if I go back to work, we lose a lot of the stuff that we need to survive.
Yeah,
And then I've tried the working full time and doing school full time, and that was
I don't like it.
nope, I don't like it either. So, but why I what's kept me in the role is again that's my love language, active service, and gift giving, because I'm that guy who, if I know that my spouse has had a rough day and I have the ingredients for it, I will make them their favorite sandwich or
Oh,
one of their favorite meals. So that way, when they get home, they'll just like, oh, you made this for me, and I'm like, yeah, you know, and it makes their day, or I'll help with their laundry, or my roommate is finally having roommates who are actually like good. They struck out a couple of times, as have we, as have I, you know. But
yeah,
I'm one of those people where I'm like, oh hey, if you're hungry, there's some stuff in the fridge that I made. You can have some, and they're like, I can, and I'm like,
I can have it.
yes. You know, uh, if the rule in the house is if it doesn't have a name on it, it's fair game. And so a lot of us like the same stuff, so it works out. But like, what's kept me in it is that it's very satisfying for me, both emotionally and spiritually. Uh, I I was raised Catholic, but I don't practice anymore. I Italian folk magic is one of my practices, and a
So you'll
lot
be
of
coming back to do a podcast about that as well, right?
about magic. Hell yeah, I would love
Awesome.
to. Yeah, because I practice Italian folk magic, chaos magic, and I'm a Norse heathen as well. And I started with the Celtic pantheon and Wicca, of course,
Of
because
course.
that
Guilty.
that's
But
that's the
then you get
easiest.
older and you learn and you're like, oh,
Ooh, yeah, some of that might not have
I'm
been so
gonna
great
go.
that
Just,
way.
yeah, I'm just gonna go,
Right,
actually.
right. But it's emotionally fulfilling, it's spiritually fulfilling for me because I identify with several of the saints of housekeeping and keeping the home. Uh and there was a series of books when I was a kid called Strega Nona by Tommy de Paola.
I remember those.
Yes, and
Oh, pasta mama.
she was a kitchen witch,
Yeah.
and she was great. And for me, being able to like fulfill some of my spiritual needs by being in the kitchen and making food, or even just cleaning, you clean to get rid of the negative energies in the house, especially around solstice or equinox, which summer solstice, you bet your butt I'm gonna be out in the kitchen sweeping, being like, all the bad energy, get out.
Go away.
Exactly. Emotionally it fulfills me because again it leads into my acts of service, but it all and gift giving, and it connects me to my mom and my grandmother and my aunt. I forgot my aunt. She was my little sister's godmother, not related to us by blood, but she was a heart aunt, as they would say now, and I really
Yeah.
like that. Um, and she was former military. She was a woman's. She joined the Women's Army Corps right out of high school. She was
That's
18.
badass.
Oh,
Like,
she's a badass lady, and she retired in the late 80s with a first sergeant rank. So yeah, but she was very she was not much of a cook either. But when she tried, when she put her mind to it, she was really good. And I have a lot of happy memories of us sitting around the card table in her in her dining room, with a chicken that she made on the rotisserie oven
no.
with mashed potatoes and vegetables, and we would just sit and have dinner. And so all of that is such a family thing for me, and on my dad's side, Italians, also a good Catholic family. My dad was one of 10, I think. Yeah. And but whenever I've gone to any of my aunt's houses or anything like that, there's just so much activity in the kitchen, and there's people laughing and talking, and everyone, the guys are either out on the porch or they're playing card games in the living room, and it was the same on my grandmother's side, you know and so the emotionally fulfilling is I feel like I'm walking in the steps of those who have come before me. I'm very My great grandmother came with my great grandfather to New York through Ellis Island.
Wow.
My father is fourth generation Italian.
That's
Like,
amazing.
yeah. And I just think about being in that time, how my grandmother managed to raise three boys and take care of my grandfather and run a house.
I can't even imagine.
Me
Like,
either. And so,
I can't even find matching socks in this life.
oh
Like,
my God.
I'm
And
just
I'm
gonna
like,
start buying all black socks. I don't care. Yeah.
seriously. But I just buy a bunch of the pack of the Fruit of the Loom socks, and just as long as I know that they both have Fruit of the Loom on the heel or on the
You got
toes,
it.
I'm like, there, I'm good. But it's really just comforting to me. And then my great grandmother, my mother's grandmother, she was German. Her family came through Galveston, Texas. She stopped going to school in the eighth grade because her mother died and she had to take care of her sisters. There were four of them.
Wow.
And she had her own magic. Her food was said to be like gift giving or life giving or just healing. And she had the weather witch sense. She could walk out onto the porch, look at the clouds, and know a tornado was coming. before
Damn.
the weather channel, before the radio or the television would even say it. She knew, and she could look. I inherited this gift. She could look at a dress in the window of a store, go home, make a pattern, and make a dress.
I wish.
Right? No,
I should be so lucky.
I have that. I'm not that good at looking like, but I can make a pattern from something just by studying how a garment's put together. But
Yeah, my grandma could
being,
do that. She tried to
yeah,
give it to me, and it just was like,
it happens. The spouse is the same way. They're better at hand sewing, but they cannot machine sew to save their lives.
right? It's
Yeah,
and I used to know how too, and now I'm like, wait, what? Like the thread goes where?
right,
It just goes in and out. That's all you need.
right. That's all you need to know, right? No. But yeah, that's what's kept me in the role, is just all of those different things, like, really has been so good for me.
Yeah. Okay, so you told me a little bit earlier that you teach a class on formal dining.
We do.
I would like to know what is the hardest part of preparing for a formal dinner?
Oh, good Lord.
Asking for a friend. Hi, it's me.
Hi. No, that's okay. Um, I'm gonna say the menu planning is
Oh
one of the
God, I didn't even
hardest
think of
parts.
that.
It is not the hardest part, but okay. So if I have to think, there's like four.
Okay.
So the first thing is planning the menu, because everyone has different sensitivities, different allergies, things like that. You have to be aware of these things. Now, I can't, as someone who's tried to micromanage a menu to the point where it's like people are just going to be eating little bits of food on tiny. No, 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 that's not going to work. You can't micromanage it that much, but you have to be able to have, let's say, alternatives. If you've got one vegan, three vegetarians, and one gluten free, okay, you got to kind of figure out, all right, what can I have for options? And the thing is, a lot of people think that vegan food and vegetarian food and gluten free food are hard. They're not. And there are recipes that have been out there, and
They're
I'm going to say
actually
this,
easier.
for thousands of years. You can go back as again, I medieval reenactment, that's also a thing of mine, but you can go back and look at some of those books, because they had them, and a lot of this stuff is already gluten free or
Mhm.
vegetarian or vegan. Vegan's a little harder, but I have been to a feast where there was period appropriate vegan food from period recipes. It
That is
was
so hot.
it was amazing. I'm telling you, the SCA, man. You're in Utah?
I am.
That would be the
But I
Kingdom of
come to
Artemisia.
Texas a lot.
Kingdom of Artemisia. I'll send you
Okay.
a link so you can look it
Thank
up.
you.
Yeah. But anyways, so you have to be able to figure out, so you just have to know your sources. You got to look, 9 minute remaining. All
I
right.
did see it. I did see it.
All right. I'll do my best to kind of be quick.
Okay.
So planning the menu, make sure you have alternatives. Worst comes to worst, someone can have a salad, you know? And that is like,
And you
it's
can do a
sometimes,
lot with a salad
oh,
too.
you can. Toppings, dressings, seasonings. Okay, so number two is making sure you have servers who are confident. Because oh, one of the last formal dinners I did, we had one person who was really nervous, but a bunch of us had already done this before. It was the submissive serving the tops, and we just told her it's easy, just walk through the motions, you'll be fine. And she was great. She did fine. But you do have to have people. You have some people who, like, when I was a caterer, I've done catering. Someone literally dropped a tray of glasses just all over the table, all over the
That's my worst
patrons.
nightmare.
It was horrible. And she wasn't, see, I can't carry a tray to save my life, but I pretended like I could, and I managed. So you need people who have some sense of confidence, even if it is just someone that you kind of have to pep talk a little bit. Just be like, hey, it's okay. You'll be fine. Just move forward. Three, making sure that everybody knows the dress code. If it is a formal dinner that isn't necessarily in a BDSM context, make sure that people are at least wearing pants,
Yep.
for God's sake. And
It'd
then
be like that.
here's the other thing. Even in a BDSM context, you need to make sure that that the submissives, or let's say the servers, because it may not be completely submissives, we don't know. I've seen a dinner where the tops were the ones serving, and that was kind of neat. Oh, it was cool because like they were really attentive. So it
I
was,
bet.
yeah.
Ugh,
So anyway, make sure that everyone's wearing appropriate clothing in a kitchen, especially because hygiene, man. I'm gonna say this. I don't want anybody's bits and berries in my salad.
I
No, thank
bits and
you.
berries. No bits and berries in my salad, por favor.
No, right. But I mean, at least make sure they've got on an apron or they've got on pants or even just some covering. It doesn't have to be anything super fancy,
A
but just,
dress.
you can make really simple little loincloth things, for crying out loud, if
Yeah,
that's the vibe
anything.
you're going
Please,
for.
God.
But yes, so make sure appropriate dress, whether for the kitchen or for your guests. Number 4 is making sure you have a place. The last one I was at a private home, but sometimes that doesn't work out. So you need to make sure before you even start planning, you got to find a venue. And if you find someone's house, you got to make sure that this person, I don't want to say persona non grata, but let's just say in the context of a BDSM thing, you want to make sure that this person's house has not had any bad things happen there. There
Yeah,
hasn't been any parties that things have gone weird. They're used to hosting events. People are comfortable there. That is really important because
absolutely. Yeah.
people aren't going to want to go. And then feelings get hurt because the host is like, well, nobody showed up to the party. And it's like, yeah, because nobody likes you. You
Or
know,
or I would also say people that don't know you. Like, don't be
exactly.
bringing in some random stranger for a high protocol leather dinner.
Oh,
Like,
hell no.
let's
No, no, no.
not.
So curate the guest list could go into number 4 with your location. And then I guess if there was one more thing, just be aware that no matter how prepared you are,
Something
something
will
may
go
go
wrong.
wrong.
And if
Something
anyone
will.
is watching this who's about to get married, something will go
Thing will
wrong,
go
and
wrong.
it's okay.
It is fine. It is fine. And you'll remember that, you'll laugh about it later.
It will be great.
Yes. But that is, and the thing is with dinners or any sort of service, whether it's a tea, a dinner, even if it's just a hospitality thing that you're doing at an event or whatever, shit's going to go weird. And it could be as bad, it could be as simple as, oh, fuck, I forgot plates. Or you open the thing of strawberries and they're moldy.
Yeah.
And that was what you had planned for dessert. So you're like, okay. So something's going to happen. The biggest thing is keep in touch with your coordinators. If you have someone who's doing the food, the decorations, things like that, make sure you all are talking. You're all in touch with each other. Have emergency money set aside because you never know if somebody, like, okay, moldy strawberries, crap. Okay, here's $40. Run to the store and get me whatever is fresh,
Yes, and this
or
is one of those times I would say you have a person that is designated to do that with you. Don't trust DoorDash in a
oh,
situation that
hell
you're
no.
hosting.
Oh, no, no, no. Get someone to do it and just be
Yeah,
like, here's here and be sure to compensate them with gas if you need to, but just be like this. Or let's say someone's going to be coming later, you can text them and be like, "Hey, can you bring this?" And a lot of times they'll be like, "Yeah, of course, I'll pick that up on my way," or something like that. So communication is very big.
awesome. Well,
Yeah,
I want to thank you so much
sure.
for coming and doing this for us. I really appreciate it.
Of
I hope
course.
to have you back soon.
Oh, yes. I
We
have a
have
lot more
lots to talk
topics.
about,
I do.
and I'll try to get my software set up so that we're not limited to 40 minutes on Zoom. But I
You
appreciate you working with me.
Oh, of course, no problem. And people can find me at Desert Transman pretty much on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. That's where I do a lot of my content creation.
If you
Uh,
want to send me those links, I will
I
put them
will.
in the comments.
Yeah, I will. And yeah, I'm more than happy to chat with people about stuff. So,
Awesome.
all
Thank
right.
you.
You're
Well, you have
welcome,
a great
Charlie.
rest of your
You
evening.
too.
I'm going to make sure that I do this right this time.